Hello everyone, my name is Jack Fisher and welcome to my world. And today, I'd like to try something new. I'd like to share a big, bold project that I created long before I created this YouTube channel. Now, some of my audience already know this, but I used to write fan fiction. I used to write a lot of fan fiction. Now, I know people have opinions about fan fiction. Some see it as a waste of time. There are even some creators out there who prefer that fans did something else with their passions. But for a good long while, it was my main creative outlet. It's how I developed and refined my writing skills. I don't deny that some of what I wrote was downright awful, but there are other works that I'm genuinely proud of. By far, my biggest and most ambitious story was X-Men Supreme. It was basically my own personal alternate universe of X-Men. I treated it as though Marvel gave me the keys to create my own Ultimate-style universe. I basically took these iconic characters and gave them a new, yet familiar backstory, and from there I just world-built the hell out of it. It has action, drama, and plenty of romance, some involving familiar pairings, others being wholly unique to this world. I also made sure to explore larger themes about what it means to be hated and feared. I wanted it to feel like a real, legitimate X-Men universe. And I took it seriously. I spent 8 years working on this series. It spans 7 volumes, 175 chapters, and well over 2 million words last time I checked. It was challenging, but fun and rewarding. I've since stopped, but I'd like to take this opportunity to share it with those who haven't heard of it yet. With that in mind, what follows is an excerpt from the very first chapter in the very first volume. It's a journal entry from Charles Xavier himself. It helps set the tone for the entirety of X-Men Supreme. Consider this a preview of my biggest and boldest creation. Enjoy! The world is ripe with conflict. Fear, hatred, and uncertainty rule the day. On this very morning, a protest broke out in Washington, D.C. involving a mutant picking a fight between a group of protesters. That fight spiraled out of control, triggering widespread rioting and destruction. Such is the unfortunate context of our times. In the midst of this latest upheaval, the question was asked, who will step in to save humanity from this madness? It's quite a challenge, but one I look to take on. My name is Professor Charles Xavier. I am a teacher, a mutant, and a dreamer. My life is constrained to a wheelchair, but my mind is hindered by nothing. Some say that when one loses function in one part of their body, the rest becomes stronger. I like to think that what I lost in my legs is made up in my dreams. This is the personal chronicle of a man who seeks peace in a world wrought with conflict. This is the story of the man behind the wheelchair, the wealth, and the mutation. Now, I grew up in a wealthy family with roots back to English nobility. My father was a highly respected theoretical physicist, and my mother was an accomplished doctor. I had a lot of privileges growing up. I went to all the best schools and had access to all the best resources. But my mutant powers made me an outcast. While my parents were there for me, they died very early in my life from unknown causes. Yet they left a profound influence on me. I attended Princeton where I studied medicine and biology. I hold a PhD in both fields and contributed extensively to new fields of biotechnology. I sought to become a genetics researcher, but the more I studied human affairs, the more fascinated I became with the social upheavals of the latter 20th century. Through this, I foresaw the coming conflict between humans and mutants. After I graduated, I traveled abroad and began studying in the field of humanities. Much of my research was done in Israel and the Middle East, where conflict was readily available to study. There, I expanded my understanding of the world outside the comfort of my upper-class upbringing. I did a great deal of research and wrote many pieces that have been widely published. It is through this work that I have established myself as a man of peace. This also put my developing mutant abilities into perspective. I was born with the unique gift to read people's minds and influence their thoughts. This ability is known as telepathy. While it is poorly understood, I strive to use it for the good of mankind. Some may call me naive, but I have great respect for humanity. Our civilization has achieved some truly remarkable feats. We have conquered so many unknowns in our ever-changing world, but as magnificent as we have become, mankind has a dark side. As a species of such high function, we are capable of great destruction. We hate, we persecute, and we oppress what we perceive as threats. and mutants have unfortunately become a part of that legacy. Mutation is not a new phenomenon. It has been part of nature since the beginning of life. Mutation is a major factor that drives evolution. Without evolution, life as we know it would not be possible. Evolution remains a very complicated process that is typically drawn out over millennia. But when conditions are right, large-scale mutations can occur over the span of a few generations, developing new traits that can aid or hinder their survival. This is the issue that mankind is faced with today. In recent years, the human race has taken a great leap in the evolution of our species. A growing number of individuals are being born with an abnormality in their DNA which has become known as the X gene. Through this one gene, a wide range of abilities become possible. Yet for all its majesty, the X gene is still a mystery. Nobody knows where it came from or how it developed, and it is this lack of understanding that has caused others to fear mutants as a threat. Some even go so far as to say that there is a war coming that will be fought between mutants and non-mutants. Because of this, I have taken it upon myself to stop such horrors from happening. I began this endeavor during my studies, traveling to war-torn areas like the Balkans where I did humanitarian work. I saw firsthand the kind of hatred humans are capable of. Torture, rape, and death were almost commonplace, and it was my job to console victims. I would have been content to help the world in this way, but all that changed the day I learned I had a cancerous tumor in my spine. All the best doctors gave me a grim diagnosis. At one point, I had a mere 6 months to live. But I fought it, spending nearly a year and a half in a hospital bed undergoing treatment. Eventually, the tumor was removed and the cancer went into remission. When all was said and done, I was told my legs suffered permanent damage and I may never walk again. It was a devastating blow that took months to recover from, but it also gave me time to think. Surviving cancer reminded me that I was human. Even with all my power, I am as vulnerable as any other. I refused to let my personal misfortune dampen my resolve, so I pursued my chosen path through another route. I returned to my family estate located in Westchester, New York. There, I began studying mutation extensively and set out a new course of action that would help humans and mutants alike. I've learned through my experiences that it is difficult for mutants to live in a world that hates and fears them. So, with the vast wealth from my family, I have turned my mansion into a school which I have entitled the Xavier Institute for Higher Learning. Here, mutants can live, learn, and use their powers for the greater good. And for those who have trouble controlling their abilities, I use my knowledge of mutation to help them. I believe that through education and training, mutants can exact a positive influence on the world. Over the years, I have taught many remarkable individuals. Together, we have had our share of adventures and accomplished a great deal. Young mutants who once saw their powers as curses now see them as gifts. Some chose to stay while others chose to pursue their own goals. At the moment, my institute has 5 permanent residents. They come from different backgrounds, but they chose to stay here because they have come to believe in my dream. And they each have their own story to tell. My first student is a young man named Scott Summers. Born in Alaska, Scott had a peaceful early life. But that all changed the fateful day when a plane crash killed his parents and left him orphaned at age 8. Traumatized, Scott manifested his powers at an early age. He has the ability to metabolize sunlight and turn it into photoconcussive blasts. They can be quite destructive, but due to brain damage that he sustained as a result of the crash, he is unable to control his powers and was fully blind by age 14. Scared of his growing powers, Scott was an isolated young man. He and his brother Alex were repeatedly abused at the orphanage that took him in and the foster homes that followed. It affects him profoundly to this day. I learned of him by pure chance from a news report and took him into my school. He has since embraced my school's ideals, and I have helped him gain some control over his abilities. It took a great deal of effort, but with the aid of special glasses made out of ruby quartz that block his powers, he is able to control his abilities. As a boy who has overcome so much, I am very proud of Scott. At 22, he is smart, responsible, trustworthy, and a strong leader. He is still somewhat reserved, but his inner strength cannot be denied. His loyalty to the team astonishes even me at times. Under the codename Cyclops, I am proud to have him at my institute. Jean Grey was my second student. She arrived not long after Scott Summers. Like him, she grew up in a well-to-do family. However, Jean's life took a turn for the tragic when her sister, Sarah, died in a horrific car accident when she was 8. Death alone is hard enough for a child, but Jean's powers involved telepathy, so the experience was felt deep within her mind. Such trauma triggered the early manifestation of her mutant abilities. For years, she struggled for control. Later, she manifested telekinesis, the ability to move objects with her mind. Uncontrolled, this ability was very destructive, and her parents were overwhelmed. Eventually, they sent her to a series of hospitals after she complained of having strange visions. They feared that she was going mad. Thankfully, I learned of her after meeting her troubled father at a reunion at Princeton. She enrolled in my school and has been a strong part of it ever since. To this day, she still struggles with control, but has come a long way. However, the rift between her and her family is deep. Being thrown into a hospital has created many scars that may never heal. But she is strong and passionate about her life here. Now a beautiful young woman under the code name Marvel Girl, I am honored to have her at my school. But before Scott and Jean came into my life, I helped other youths learn to accept and control their mutation. One of those individuals was Hank Mccoy. His mutation involved enhanced strength and ape-like reflexes. But unfortunately, such abilities extended to his appearance as well. As they grew, parts of his mutation were making him more animal than man. I helped him keep it at bay with my telepathy, but the animal inside did not like being contained. I successfully held back further change in his physiology on through college. He has a truly brilliant mind and went on to become a star football player and a dedicated teacher at a local high school. But when the beast inside him led to an incident that nearly got him fired, he concocted a serum which he hoped would suppress it. I advised against it, but the desire to contain his mutation was too great. As I feared, it backfired. Now his body reflects his ape-like nature on the outside as well. He has the fur and build of an ape man, but I managed to help him retain his mind. While he is no longer able to teach as Hank McCoy, as Beast he has become a valuable member of my institute. As I opened the institute doors more freely for recruitment, I had hoped that parents of disaffected mutants would jump at the chance to give their child an education in a positive, nurturing environment. Unfortunately, some did not have such noble intentions. Warren Worthington III was an unfortunate victim of such an act. Born into a wealthy family, he was very privileged growing up, but his mutation left him at odds with his family. Warren was born with full feathered wings and the ability to fly. His gift is a wonder that most can only dream of, but his parents worried his mutant status may affect the public image of Worthington Industries, one of the top multinational industrial firms in the world. Warren loves his powers, but his parents pressured him to conceal them. This caused a great rift, culminating in a fight with his father, who wanted to have his wings surgically removed. Warren refused, and as a result, his status as heir to the Worthington fortune is tenuous. That tension between Warren and his family, namely his father, is what led him to my institute. At 23, it worries that a man with such a gift is forced to choose between his family and his identity. His father loves him dearly, but he doesn't understand them, and he worries a great deal about how his son's mutant status will affect the legacy of the company they built. I helped him find a new purpose in life, and under the code name Angel, I hope his gift will one day be celebrated by his family, rather than feared. Last, but certainly not least, is a young man named Bobby Drake. Born into a working-class family in Boston, Bobby grew up normally by all accounts. He went to school, had plenty of friends, and enjoyed an active social life. Unfortunately, that all changed when he started having inexplicable shivers. They started small, but they soon grew much more serious and began manifesting into unforeseen effects. Then, while he was at school, it got worse and he ended up covering half his school in ice. It was quite a messy affair, but it revealed the truth. He was a mutant. After further study, I discovered that Bobby had the mutant ability to make ice and create extreme cold. Needless to say, this evoked a great deal of shock, and he was nearly lynched by his peers when they found out. He managed to escape, but the ordeal shattered any hope of a normal life. His parents feared for his safety. When I offered my services, they eagerly accepted. Here, he can continue his education without fear of prejudice. Bobby remains close to his parents, but he still faces plenty of scrutiny. Nevertheless, he refuses to let past unpleasantness bring him down. He is known for being a jokester, and some would classify him as a class clown. But regardless of this title, he is a fine 18-year-old boy who takes our cause seriously, and under the appropriate codename Iceman, He is a welcomed resident at my institute. Together, my students and staff hope to pursue peace in a world wrought with conflict. Using the resources at our disposal, we hope to teach humanity that we are allies, not enemies. I am not so naive to think that such a dream can be achieved without challenges. As a result, I have organized my staff into a task force that can go out and handle conflicts as they arise. We are the peacekeepers who seek to protect mutants and humans alike. I call this team the X-Men. It is my hope that through hard work, enlightenment, and struggle, that humans and mutants can one day live in peace. Together, I believe we can accomplish so much more. We stand on the threshold of a new era. Our species is changing. We are entering a brave new world. This is more than just evolution. This is a revolution. Thank you. Want to see more? Check out the rest of the series at xmensupreme.com or on fanfiction.net. Links are provided in the description below. Thanks for watching, everybody. If you'd like to see more of this, let me know. I'd be happy to read more excerpts. Until next time, take care. Please like, comment, and subscribe.